Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of One More Thing. I am Jesse Dollemore, and today's One More Thing is about the White House's childish methods of trying to get around impeachment and the impeachment inquiry. They sent a letter to an 8-page letter. This is 8 pages, double, back and forth printed, double-sided. And it's only the first 2 paragraphs that I want to read, but it really is telling that the legal strategy or the defense strategy for or against impeachment from the White House and the lawyers at the White House is completely based on Donald Trump's yapping mouth. That he can't stop flapping his gums about his particular obsessions, and they're putting it into pseudo-legal language. So this is a letter from the White House dated October 8th, 2019. Dear Madam Speaker and Mr. Chairman, I write on behalf of President Donald J. Trump in response to your numerous legally unsupported demands made as part of what you have labeled contrary to the Constitution of the United States and all past bipartisan precedent as an impeachment inquiry. As you know, you have designated and implemented your inquiry in a manner that violates fundamental fairness and constitutionally mandated due process. This is just untrue. There is nothing in the Constitution whatsoever that says there has to be a floor vote to initiate an impeachment inquiry, to make it official. There's nothing in the Constitution. I've read these before. I will read them one more time. Article 1, Section 2 of the Constitution reads, the House of Representatives shall choose their Speaker and other officers and shall have the sole power of impeachment. That is it. It doesn't lay forth any type of specifics as to how the House does it, just that they have the sole power. So for the White House to say that they are violating the fundamental fairness and constitutionally mandated due process is ridiculous. Second paragraph, and then we'll move on. For example, you have denied the president the right to cross-examine witnesses, to call witnesses, to receive transcripts of testimony, to have access to evidence, to have counsel present, and many other basic rights guaranteed to all Americans. You have conducted your proceedings in secret. You have violated civil liberties and the separation of powers by threatening executive branch officials, claiming that you will seek to punish those who exercise fundamental constitutional rights and prerogatives. Anyway, it goes on and on and on. This is laughable on its face. Just laughable. And it's any lawyer, any congressman or congresswoman in the House or the Senate for that matter, that you see saying these types of arguments that Donald Trump has a right to call witnesses and this is all being done in secret and he's not being afforded him the rights that any other American would be, is just false. This isn't a criminal trial. This is an impeachment. So for instance, I just got done serving for 1 year on a federal grand jury here in Orange County, California. That is a secret proceeding. We heard hundreds of cases in secret. Some of them, witnesses were called, and they don't have a right to they have a right to a lawyer, but that lawyer cannot be inside the grand jury room while they are being questioned by an assistant United States attorney. That's the law. And then if enough evidence is found and the grand jury votes to indict, then an indictment is brought, and then the case goes to trial. There is secrecy in the criminal justice system as it is. So for them to act like this impeachment thing is absolutely an analog to criminal trial, one, it's not true, but even if it were, there are elements that are like the criminal trial. For instance, right now, the impeachment inquiry is like the grand jury process. And then when they vote on the articles of impeachment from the House, that will be like the indictment that will get sent on to the Senate where a trial will be held. There's nothing different. Donald Trump is not having his due process stripped away. This is a different type of process. This is a political process, not a criminal trial. Anyway, I wanted to get that off my mind and off my chest, but also I wanted to give that information to you when you hear people like Doug Collins, who is the ranking member of the Judiciary Committee, acting like, saying talking points like this, repeating talking points like this. It's just ridiculous. Anyway, we got a bunch of questions. I really appreciate it. I do want to say, one, I've got a new phone number, which is 714-576-4054. So start using that for all of your questions. We did get some questions in. I'm going to read them. But when you call in, or even if you email, if you don't say your name, I'm not going to say your name. So if you call in and you're leaving your voicemail anonymous, it's just going to be that way. I'm not going to out someone or anything. So your anonymity is very important, not only to yourself, but it's important to me if you choose it. So if you want your name said, and you want your city said, you're going to have to say it. So anyway, let's move on, move ahead with the questions here. First is a question from YouTube, a YouTube comment. Hannah, how did Clinton get impeached but not removed from office? Also, Pence was himself directly involved in the same crime as Trump and will likely also be impeached, along with Barr as well. I'll look at this as two parts. The first is a very common misconception of the term impeachment. Impeachment is only one part of it. Impeachment is just the process of bringing charges to the Senate. When you hear people talk about being impeached, it doesn't mean being removed. It just means impeachment, just the trial. If you're impeached and removed, that means you were convicted in the Senate. That's why I always make a point to say impeached and removed. So I hope that answers your question. As far as Bill Clinton, yeah, he was impeached, but the Senate did not vote to convict because there were a certain number of moderate Republicans like Arlen Specter who didn't vote to convict. So that's why he didn't get removed. And then I don't agree with you that, I do agree that Pence was involved in the crimes, but I don't believe he's going to be impeached. It took this long for the House Democrats to get their shit together enough to get to where we are now. I just don't see them having the political will or acumen to get it done relative to Pence. And then Barr, I believe he deserves to be impeached as well, but, the same answer. Thanks, Hannah. I appreciate it. Next is another YouTube comment from Paul. Is impeachment and removal from office automatically related? If he's impeached, it doesn't mean he's removed from office, does he? No. Same thing I just said. It's, you're impeached. That's the process of the trial. Removal is the vote in the Senate. Next, question from Twitter from Sarah. Fast forward and Dumb Donald is out of our White House. I like that you said our White House. Impeached and removed. Who is the current cabinet do you think Pence will keep and who will he replace? Who knows, Sarah? Who knows what goes on in his robot mind? But I will, if it were me, if I was Mike Pence and I was making the decision to move forward with a cabinet, whether it be an amalgam of, a mixture of Donald Trump's and my own new, I wouldn't go forward. I would want a completely clean slate. I would want my own cabinet moving ahead with my own people, with no formal loyalties, no taint of the Donald Trump administration. I would want to move ahead with my own team. So, and that's what I suspect a Mike Pence would do. Next is a call, and let's just get straight to it.
Hi, Jesse. Love your show. I'm calling from north of Seattle. I have a question. If Donald Trump is in fact impeached and removed, hopefully drug out by his red hair, don't you believe that within about the first 90 seconds of Mike Pence being president, the first thing he's going to do is pardon Donald Trump of all his crimes? So Donnie will walk off into the sunset with his mail-order bride and not have to face the consequences like he's been doing his entire life. That's my biggest fear, is that he will get pardoned and he'll just go on with his life like nothing happened. You have a good day. Bye.
This is something that my co-host Brittany Page on my podcast, which is separate from YouTube, I Doubt It with Dollemore. We talk about this all the time. We catch ourselves asking the question, what have we done? Why did we reward this guy with power? Someone who has been unaccountable to authority his entire life, no consequences whatsoever. I do believe, caller from north of Seattle, I do believe that that is what would happen if he's impeached. That he will, if Mike Pence is indeed president, that he will ultimately just be pardoned of his of any crimes that he committed. Now, keep in mind, a president has the power to pardon except in cases of impeachment. So he will be maybe pardoned for the federal crimes that he may be found guilty of, but he can't be pardoned of the impeachment. Now, that is a bummer that there will be a furtherance of a lack of consequence for Donald Trump. But keep in mind, the state of New York right now is going gangbusters in investigations of criminal activity of Donald Trump and the Trump organization that would fall out of the pardon power of the president. So he could very well still face consequences, maybe not the same level of consequence that we would like on a federal scale, but still possible. Anyway, thank you very much. On to a Twitter question. My question is, if Trump is removed from office, full impeachment, can Mike Pence pardon him for any wrongdoing? And why can't anything be done about all of these Republicans that go on the news shows and outright lying to the public? Do they think we are stupid? So, again, Mike Pence can pardon him from the crimes, but not for impeachment. And then really nothing can be done about politicians lying. That's kind of a job description to some degree. Not like we've been seeing it, but to some degree. And then do they think we are stupid? Well, I don't think they think we're stupid, but I definitely think they think their voter base is stupid. They think that MAGA hats are stupid. And up to this point, it has been a game of trying to keep the base solidified, trying to keep them together. Because as soon as they start having some doubts or going their separate ways, it's really all over. Because that's the only thing right now that's keeping the Senate as quiet as they are, is the fact that, the 51 to 55% approval rating for impeachment. I mean, there's still a healthy amount of people in the country who don't agree with it, and that is starting to evaporate. We're seeing a very rapid, very quick swing inside of just 2 weeks of 10 to 15 points different from not wanting impeachment to being all for it. So as time goes on, as more details are found out, the Senate is going to change their position as well. All right. Thank you, Doc. Next question is a YouTube comment from Patrick. If Donald Trump was impeached and successfully removed from office, will Mike Pence be able to pardon Donald Trump for any high crimes, misdemeanors, and treason by the next or any following president? Again, he can pardon for crimes, but he cannot pardon impeachment. Next is a call from Lorenzo.
Hello, Mr. Dollemore. Lorenzo here. First of all, love what you do, love your perspective. Thank you for all of that. My first question is, what case scenario would allow Donald Trump to be impeached and still maintain the trappings of being a president, i.e. his security detail, pension, etc.? And then this is a two-part question. As it pertains to Giuliani, would Giuliani, were he to be convicted as a result of all of this, would he be eligible for a pardon from the president? Thank you.
Well, how would Donald Trump be able to maintain his security and his pension? That would mean he would be impeached but not removed. So if that's the case, if he's removed from office through impeachment, he no longer has a pension. He no longer has a Secret Service detail. But if he is removed via any other means, like if he resigns even, he gets to keep those things. Like Nixon. Nixon kept his security detail. I think he resigned his Secret Service detail in like 85 or 86, 1985 or 1986. And that was because he resigned prior to impeachment and removal. He didn't even let it happen. And then as far as, what was the other question? Well, will Rudy Giuliani be eligible for a presidential pardon? Yeah, unfortunately that is the case. Listen, we have a system where only like 19 times in the history of our country, 18 or 19 times in the history of our country have we ever used impeachment. 2 times, 2.5 times kind of on a president, and never have we removed a president from office. So we're in rarefied air here. This is supposed to be something that doesn't happen all the time. It's not supposed to be readily used. So I don't think that we may have to come up with some rules surrounding dealing with accomplices of a president who get entrapped or in trouble with these types, or creating trouble with these types of things. But it is so rare. It seems super common right now because we had Bill Clinton, recently, and now we have Trump. But it is a rarity. Thank you, Lorenzo. Next is a YouTube comment from Lily. Who will become president if Pence is impeached along with Trump? Well, we have an order of succession. So if the president is removed, it's the vice president. The vice president is removed, it is the Speaker of the House. If there is no Speaker of the House at the moment, like if they were all in the same car and they all died, then it would be the President pro tem, which is like the senior. I think it's Chuck Grassley right now. It was Orrin Hatch until he retired. And then I think it's the Secretary of State, the Secretary of Treasury, the Secretary of Defense, down the line. So there is an order involved. That's why at the State of the Union, when everybody's there, there's one cabinet member who's left out that if, a bomb drops or whatever, that we'll still have a government in place. So that is how that would work. Next is a YouTube comment from Stacy. What if he resigns, Secret Service or not? I think I just did cover that. If he resigns, yes. Secret Service. Not. And another call. This is great.
Yes. First, I wanted to say I love your show. My question is seeing that Donald Trump is on the road to impeachment, I was wondering if there's any regulations in order to kind of hold back his power. Just because I know when people get fired, sometimes they go crazy and they just start doing crazy stuff knowing they're going to get fired. So what I was wondering is if there's any regulations for when a president's being impeached that he can't just start giving away secrets or start doing crazy stuff to kind of screw over everybody before he gets impeached. If there's any regulations that the Congress has to kind of curtail his power from doing deciding he wants to start a war or give the nuclear codes to Russia or something like that. Thanks.
So it's not a complicated question. I mean, it's not a complicated answer. It's just I was in my head thinking whether I wanted to say maybe that is something we should explore, and then I abandoned the idea pretty quickly. And the reason I say that is because, one, there is no regulation, there is no constitutional authority to have half a president or 3/4 of a president as far as power is concerned. We have a process for removal, for trying and removing a president. And in the process, while that is taking place, that person in that office is still fully the president. They still retain all the rights, all the privileges, all the authority that comes with the office of the President of the United States. For instance, when Bill Clinton was impeached and not removed, but while he was being impeached, he was still, I don't want to say launching military campaigns, but we were still actively involved in hotspots around the globe, that he is still the commander-in-chief of the armed forces. So because of the fact that the presidency is such an important job, we don't want to have even an incentive to be able to cripple a president power-wise, and all the opposition party has to do is get them involved in an impeachment process, and then take one of their legs out. So that's what I would guess was the thinking of our founders. But I don't know. But to answer the question flatly, no, there is no regulation. And then we wrap it up with another call.
My question is this. If President Trump is impeached, removed, and subsequently convicted of crimes, would he be subject to have his properties forfeited or confiscated, such as Trump Tower, Mar-a-Lago, etc.? I just want to know, if he's convicted, would they, just like in other crimes, when you are convicted, sometimes the federal government will seize your property as part of that. Anyway, thanks. Sometimes the federal government will seize your property as part of that. Anyway, thanks.
So this is an interesting question as well, and it's one of those that is covered. This is actually covered by the Constitution. Let me get it open here. This is Article 1, Section 3, which deals with the Senate's role with impeachment. The Senate shall have the sole power to try all impeachments. When sitting for that purpose, they shall be on oath or affirmation. When the President of the United States is tried, the Chief Justice shall preside, and no person shall be convicted without the concurrence of 2/3 of the members present. And then here is the section that applies to this question. Judgment in cases of impeachment shall not extend further than to removal from office and disqualification to hold and enjoy any office of honor, trust, or profit under the United States. But the party convicted shall nevertheless be liable and subject to indictment, trial, judgment, and punishment according to law. So what that says is all they get is removed. And then if in a criminal proceeding, then they're still open to criminal prosecution through indictment, trial, judgment, and punishment according to the law. So no, as far as impeachment is concerned and removal from office, there wouldn't be any forfeiting of assets. And the way I understand that, even in the criminal procedure, is those assets are usually a way to make amends to the government, or they were used in the commission of a crime, and that's why they're taken. Like if you're using a car to deal drugs or something, oftentimes the government will have a forfeiture attached to a grand jury indictment, and that will forfeit assets. So anyway, I hope that answers your question. Those are awesome questions. I was really, every time I've done this, I've been impressed with the level, the granular detail of some of the ideas that you've had, and that you've been really running some scenarios that I really didn't think about. So I would invite you, I'm going to do this at least once a week. Call 714-576-4054. I still am going to have you email I doubt it at dollemore.com. That'll be the email address. I'd love to take your questions. You can also send me videos. There's Twitter, all over the web. You just Google Dollemore in the comments of the videos, whatever. The other thing I would ask is that if you made it this far and you enjoy what I do, you appreciate the work that I do here, helping to move the conversation forward, helping to amplify some of your voices, I would invite you to click the join button, become a channel member here on YouTube. Every little bit goes a long way toward producing this work, and I think that it is important. And if you agree with me, I would invite you to join and become a channel member. Anyway, until next time, you guys, I appreciate you.